Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Um, well, this is just going to be a short little video. Not, unfortunately, not necessarily one of the happier type ones, but just, I don't know, figured I'd try to put some words into it. I mean, into the universe as it was. Today we lost yet another great person. I mean, thankfully, he lived a live long life, but Stan the Man Lee. Um, I mean, anyone, if you know Marvel Comics, period, you know who Stan Lee is. Hell, if you don't, even if you're not a, comics fan or, MCU fan or whatever, you've probably heard the name Stan Lee before. I mean, he's just like one of those names that have been in the zeitgeist for decades, and I don't know. Again, it's one of those things, know he's been sick for a while, and again, he was 95, so he lived a good freaking long life. But it's one of those things again, kind of like when I did a video, in memoriam for John Schnepp from Collider Videos. Um, people you just think people you've never met, you know, that have such an effect on your life and how you look at things. And I know for so many people that was Stan Lee is one of those. I mean, he is the father, the godfather, however you want to put it, of Marvel Comics. So he, along with others like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and many others, without him and them, we wouldn't have the a lot of things as we know it. I mean, comic wise, period. I mean, of course, Marvel, as you know, he was one of the founders of Marvel. I mean, he worked at Timely, which became Marvel. Yes, DC predates it, but many of the other things that have come the expanded Marvel universe in itself, comic form, movie form, television form, game form, um, other creators who loved Marvel as well as DC, um, who may not have ever been inspired to, those that, Wildstorm, Image, Valiant, Vertigo, uh, Dark Horse. There are so many people, so many, I don't know, you don't want to use the word celebrities, but I mean, there are so many people, famous, not famous, but of course, famous ones are the ones we think of, but so many actors, directors, film writers, or whatever, grew up reading the creations of Stan Lee, and Marvel. And again, I'm not, again, one of those, all important, extremely successful people that I can be like, my story, whatever. But just as a normal person, I'm a 40-year-old guy who I grew up reading Marvel comics. Yeah, I mean, comics in general, but always had a love for Marvel more than anything. Specifically, the X-Men were my first real gateway. And then got more into Spider-Man and just branching off more and more. And then other comics via that. But of course, one of my favorite characters is Batman. From DC, Batman, Superman. But as far as my love of comics starting and those type of worlds really began with X-Men and Spider-Man. And I mean, I still have long boxes upstairs in my mom's room. Mine and my brother who passed away in '99, who too also loved you know comics in general, and especially Marvel. Um, and like I said, it's just to think, all these things that came from the mind of, and again, I'm not going to say one person because it wasn't just Stanley alone, but He was one like a co-creator on a number of the major ones, if not himself a co-creator on a number of the major ones. Um, and again, we wouldn't have a lot of the things we have today. I mean, you know, heroes, be it again, current Marvel, DC, Image, whatnot, what people want to be, that medium. I mean, it goes back, further tales, Greek mythology and all that stuff. But in the modern world, comic books are that way to look into that other world, those fantasies, those aspirations, hopes that we have, and through the medium of comics. um, I know, I mean, myself and so many, they've said it so many times on, videos, documentaries, or whatever, really learned, you know, a lot of lessons about life and how to be good people because of it. And, again, without Stan Lee and those like him, we may not have ever had that. I mean, I'm sure there would be something, to supplement that. But again, that has been one of the major cornerstones for so many people. I mean, I think myself, like I said, one of my first major gateways, if you will, drugs into comics, like I said, was Spider-Man and X-Men, which again was around the time, in the mid '90s, I guess it was. Yeah, can't remember if I had any when I was in the '80s, but yeah, like mid '90s. About the time also where X-Men the animated series and Spider-Man the animated series, were big. And God, like again so many long boxes upstairs. I've spent so much freaking money on comics and collectible cards and stuff because I just love seeing these characters larger than life. But again, like I said, so human in itself, in themselves. And of course, those characters were, for lack of a better word, expressions of, again, Stanley, Ditko, Kirby. I can never say Febonich. Anyways, I'm sure y'all, any comic readers, what I'm talking about. Fab, Jim Lee. I mean, the artists, the writers. Um, those are all expressions of them. One of the greatest, and I'm sure well-known comic lover or not, sayings from Spider-Man from the very beginning in the '60s. With great power comes great responsibility. And, you know, Stan and the house that he and the others built in Marvel, and, all the branches, people that have come directly or indirectly from them, that lesson of, uh, of responsibility, of, again, being the best person you can, especially if you have, some type of power. Of course, we don't have superpowers in the world, but be it, if you have wealth, if you have influence or whatever, I would dare say a lot of people in that sphere, yeah, I mean, that are, was that good people, and not just douches. They've had some exposure directly or indirectly to those characters and those lessons, and and of course hopefully their parents instilled something good in them too. But I'm just rambling at this point. But anyways, it's even though, again, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, we all live, we all die. And knew, Stanley wasn't going to be around forever, but still such a beloved man, such a beloved character. Again, from all his cameos in the Marvel universe to, other movies like Mallrats, not Clerks, like Mallrats, and just so many things. And I know that, again, I've never known the man. I wish I could have, been to a Comic Con and shake his hand and meet him, get him to sign something. but I never got that honor or privilege. And but for all those who did, and as I was looking online, seeing you know um, Twitter, Facebook posts, and reactions from, of course, Marvel itself, DC, but also the many individuals that have been affected again by his life, by his creations. Many of the actors that have been in Marvel movies, be it MCU or pre-MCU. Again, people like Kevin Smith, who like obviously have been, like I mentioned, those who have been influenced by his life and have taken those things to heart so much. Um, it's wonderful to see, and hopefully there'll be so much more of an outpouring of love and remembrance of this great man. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I'm sure after I end this, there'll be something else. It's like, oh crap, I should have mentioned that or this or that. All I can say is I'm, uh, been a diehard, you know, comics lore fan, especially Marvel, for a good part of my life, and to know that Stan is no longer with us, even though I mean he's always with us because as it's been said in a number of places, including by Mark Hamill, who I saw comment, you know, regarding Stan's passing, as he said in The Last Jedi, we never really die. I mean, it's been said many other places. I'm sure even in Marvel. I mean, you look at the X-Men, we never really die. um, so hope that he's, proverbially looking down on us, looking at all the joy that he has bestowed upon us, and just really enjoys it, and takes some satisfaction and pleasure from that, as I'm sure he has in his life, not in a conceited way, but just really because of, like I said, the love and joy his creations, along with those at the company that he was such a big part of, have instilled in so many lives. So, anyways, that's just my thoughts. Not exactly coherent, but yeah. Thanks for watching. Those who do.